Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the video is finally here. How to actually clutch in Valorant. Now, you clicked on this video most likely because you're tired of losing clutch situations and you're tired of losing games because of losing clutch situations. Well, I'm happy to tell you that if you found this video, you've probably come to the best guide on how to actually clutch in Valorant, because I've taken a look at basically all the other YouTube videos out there on how to clutch, how to do this, how to do that, and none of them are going to be as in-depth as this guide right here. So let's jump right into it, guys, without wasting any more of your time. So as you guys can see right here, let me pull up my little folder. I have a bunch of different clutches of my own that we're going to review. I guess this could be called a VOD review like I typically do for a lot of my students, but we're going to kind of go over some of these clips here, okay, in this video. And I'm going to kind of break it down step by step, the thought process and all of that. But before we even get into that, I have to talk to you guys about probably the most important part about all of this. And I have this water bottle here, but I think this is a day old, but who cares? Let me drink. Hold on. All right. Let me get back into it. Okay, so what is the most important part when it comes to winning a clutch? Now, this is very important, guys, so don't be one of those people that once you hear the word I'm about to say, you're like, all right, how do I get past this part in the video? I don't want to hear it. No. You need to hear this, guys. It's very, very, very important. So what is it, you might ask? What is it, Hacker One? Tell me. The answer is your mentality. 99% of players that I see in lower elos, right, when they're left in a clutch, they're scared, they're shaking, they suddenly start peeking bad, they start taking bad fights, they might like, oh, 1v2, let me just run out in the open. And the issue is very simple, guys. When these players are left in a clutch, and you might struggle with this too, and it's very important that you identify this because you need to know if you struggle with this or not, is the pressure of all the people on your team watching you. And what happens is players will start focusing on that number on the top right of their screen, spectators equals 4, spectators equals 4, and they'll get nervous. So step one, before we even jump into anything, let me go here, let me go to, where is it, go to general, scroll all the way down to show spectator count, and turn that off. This is very important, guys. Turn it off. It should not be in your head at all. You should never be focused on that. The second thing is people are nervous, like, what are people gonna say about me if I die here? What if I lose this gunfight? Everyone's gonna roast me. Everyone's gonna, no, what am I gonna do? Listen. You just have to stop caring, guys. It's a video game, just like how this YouTube video I'm making is on YouTube. It's the internet. No one cares, right? I get hate comments all the time on my videos. I don't care. I keep doing what I'm doing because I know what I'm doing is right. They can hate on whatever they want. They can nitpick. It doesn't matter. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? But the main best mentality you can have to truly stop caring when you're in a clutch is actually realizing why you're in the clutch in the first place. You need to understand something, guys. When you're left in a clutch situation, it's not your fault, right? It's your teammates' fault. Your teammates left you there. They didn't get their one. That's why you're up against 2 players. Or maybe 2 of your teammates didn't get their one. That's why you're up against 3 players. The reality is, guys, your teammates are not going to blame you because they're at fault for leaving you in the clutch in the first place. So don't worry about what they're thinking. Don't overanalyze what they're thinking. And don't take it too personally, whatever, blah, blah, okay? So how can you actually have a winning clutch mentality to where 99% of the clutches you find yourself in are wins? Well, I'll tell you right after I take a sip of this water. Okay, so how do you actually win clutches? Understand that you are the threat on the map. Listen, when I'm left in a clutch, I feel the most confident. I want you guys to understand something, okay? There are players out there who are really, really good, okay? And they live for clutches. They actually enjoy being in a clutch. In fact, that's the best part of the game for them, right? The whole rest of the game is just boring. Once they're in a clutch scenario, that's when they get excited. That's when they truly lock in. I see this all the time with pro players, even when they're playing ranked, for example. They don't care about ranked. They make money playing the game, right? They don't They don't have time to waste playing ranked anyways. They just do it for content. So that's why they just have fun. Oh, clutch situation. Okay, let me lock in, right? So number one, you need to understand that you are the threat, not the other team. When you're left in a clutch situation, you need to feel completely confident. And then the question arises, well then, how do I feel confident? How do I embrace being the threat on the map and not the scaredy guy, right? Not the guy who's scared to move. Well, it's called actually thinking about how to win the clutch during the clutch. Now this is very important, so listen up. What do I mean by this, right? Well, there's many different things to think about during a clutch, but the first question that needs to pop in your mind the moment that you're left in a clutch is, how can I win this? It shouldn't be, oh, how many people are spectating me, or what if I misclick my D button and I look bad, or what if I miss the shot that I'm about to peek into this guy. No. It should be, how can I win this clutch? And then it should be, what ults do they have? What abilities do they still have? Where was the last time I saw this player? I'm going to go over all this when we VOD review some of my clutches, but let me just give you guys an example real quick. Let's say that I'm left in a 1v2 here, right? The last time I saw Reyna, they were here, and the last time my teammate saw Brim was somewhere on B side, okay? So my immediate thinking is going to be, okay, did this Reyna already use their flash to get up here? Likely yes, right? They probably flashed here, right, to get to this point. Maybe during the start of the round, at some point they likely flashed. Okay, so they might not have a flash to work with. Okay, I can kind of confidently peek in, right? And then let's say the Brim is over here, right? Like, how many smokes does the Brim have? Did he already use his smokes at the start of the round? Does he have a smoke to work with? Although it might not be that important, it can be more important when you're playing against like flash characters, for example. Also, do my opponents have their ult? Does Brim have ult? Does Reyna have ult? These are questions that I'm going to be asking myself the moment I'm left in this clutch situation, right? And then the second most important question, once I have answered all those questions in my mind, is, how can I isolate these fights? This is the second biggest tip I can give you guys when it comes to clutches, is you need to do your best to isolate your ones. This is very important because you don't want to ever take a fight where, let's say, there's one person right here and one person right here, right? If I were to take this fight like this, for example, I'll give you guys like just a quick example. Let's say I'm walking up B main, right? And my teammates called out that there's going to be one here and one here. Okay, and let's say that there is a smoke here that's going to fade in like 4 seconds or 3 seconds. Okay, so there's a smoke here that my teammate smoked for me. There's a player standing here and a player standing here, and I'm walking up B main. Now there's many different ways I can go about this, right? One way I could do this is I could just stand here and then the smoke fades and I have to shoot 2 people at once. This guy and then strafe to this guy, right? You could be the best player in the world, but 99% of the time, you're not going to win that fight. It's just not going to be in your favor, right? So how do you actually go about this? Well, the better way to do it is to do something called isolating the fights. So how do you isolate fights? Well, it's very simple, guys. I'll literally break it down for you guys step by step. The best way to isolate fights is to find an object on the map that you can use for cover, whether it's a wall, whether it's a box, and for this scenario, it would be this box here. So how can I do that? Well, let's say I come here, right? If I were to, instead of pathing up these stairs when the players are here and here, with the smoke here, I can path here using the smoke as cover, right? And then I come here. I can pop my dash, for example, and then I can isolate one player at a time. I get this guy, boom. Now I know the last guy's here. I could isolate him like this, or I could take my time. I could peek like this. I could jiggle peek, right? I could jump peek if I want to get a little risky with it. Whatever the case may be, right? But the point is, guys, is that I reposition, right? Instead of going up the stairs, reposition here to isolate the fights. And how do I isolate the fights? Well, I use this little box to my advantage. Now, this is important. Once again, you want to just look at your map, look at your surroundings. Whatever you have to your advantage, you want to use that to isolate the fights. So that is the question number 2 on how to win your clutches. And the last question is very simple. Do you win your gunfight or do you not? But you're not going to be asking yourself that question. You're just going to be doing, and hopefully you'll come out on top. But now you have to actually study and understand the art of clutching to clutch, right? Repetition makes perfection. But the problem is you'll never have that proper repetition without the proper mentality. And that's why I dedicated this entire portion just now to speaking about the mentality, right? Because you guys have to understand something. The more questions you ask yourself during a clutch, the less likely you are to be nervous, because you're so focused on actually winning the clutch that you can't actually think about the external factors like, oh, there's so many people watching me, or what do I do here, what do I do there? No, you're just thinking, okay, how many ults do they have, what utility do they still have, where are they positioned, where were they last seen, and also one more thing that I actually forgot to mention. How did the enemies path? This is very important. For those of you guys who don't know what pathing is, pathing, in other terms, is just how you're moving across the map. So for example, one more example before we jump into my own clutches and break it down. Let's say that I am in A main, right? And my teammates, I'm left in a 1v2, okay? My teammates like, okay, the last time I saw Reyna was rope, okay? So Reyna was here last time you saw him, and Brim was here, okay? Now here's where I have to think logically speaking, okay? Because Reyna, if the last time Reyna was rope, he could be down here, he could be here, he could be a link now, right? Depending on the timing. And that is where you have to use your brain a little bit and think about where could he have pathed, where could he have moved. And people might think, oh no, you're being overcritical, but trust me, it's actually not as complicated as you think, and let me explain why. The whole idea of thinking about where a player paths is not so that you get it perfectly accurate and you're like, okay, according to my big brain, he must be a link. No. That is not how it's gonna work, guys. The whole idea of thinking about where they could be is so that it gives you an idea of what angles you need to clear. And this is a big problem, guys, when it comes to lower elo. Because what I see happen a lot in lower elos is they won't actually think about where they could be, and they won't clear anywhere aside from where the opponent was last seen. So for example, once again, if the opponent was last seen here in rope area, right, a lower elo player that's going through A main might come out of A main looking like this, like, okay, let me get the crosshair placement right and let me peek ropes, right? And then all of a sudden Reyna's here. And they're like, what? But you said rope. How did they get here, right? So the whole point is, guys, yes, rope is a big area. So yes, the Reyna could literally be here, they could be here, they could be here. It's not about getting the prediction right as much as it is thinking about where they could be, so that way you can clear properly. So for example, if my teammate called Reyna's rope, here is how I would clear it, right? I'd come out here, and I'd clear some off angles first. Now this is kind of in higher elo, right? Because a lot of times player might play like a risky off angle, so it doesn't hurt to clear some off angles first. Then I'd clear the mainer angles, and I'm like, okay, I don't see Reyna here, I don't see Reyna here, and then I'll clear, deeper, upper, etc., and then kind of isolate it. Now here is important, right? Notice how I'm using this wall here and this object here to help me isolate this, right? So for example, right, in lower elo, and even if the lower elo player actually thinks about the pathing, right, even if they do, a lot of times they might clear this, but then they'll start clearing like this, right? They might start clearing like this. You see the problem with this is that you're still exposed to this, meaning that you're full committing to a single clear area without knowing whether they're there or not. This is important as well, guys, because what happens is just because you didn't see him on this timing that you have doesn't mean that he's not going to late peek you while you're clearing this, right? So that's why you want to try to eliminate the angles you're exposed to as much as possible. This is very key. So for example, after I clear this, I'm going to be clearing this, but I'm going to be shift walking slowly into this area once I've cleared the main common angles, because the whole point is I want to try to get in this area so I can notice how you can't see me from here now, right? And you can only see me from here, so I can actually properly clear this deep area as well. Once I've cleared this, then I can re-clear this and then kind of re-clear this as well and kind of slowly inch my way forward. So that is called kind of clearing your angles properly and making sure that you're not missing any areas that the enemy could have pathed to. So now guys, that we have gone over all of the mentality and the basic fundamentals of how to win a clutch, let's jump right into some of my own clutches and see what I can offer you. Alright guys, so welcome to the first clip of all the clutches that I'm going to go over in this video. Now, I'm not showing you guys this clip because it's like my best clip or whatever. No. I'm showing you guys this because it's actually my least best clip out of the ones I've chosen. But rather, it's still important because it teaches the first aspect I want to cover, which is patience is key. Now, this is a Twitch streamer that is like a Radiant player that's watching me play here. And I was actually getting quote-unquote VOD reviewed by him at the time. This was a long time ago. And he was watching this clutch happen live. So let's go ahead and take a look at it first.
Last player standing.
So all of a sudden, 1v1. Alright.
Nice shot.
Okay, so let's just discuss this clutch real quick because this is probably the least best one out of all the ones we're going to go over. So we're going to try to take it like one step at a time. So the reason I wanted to show this clutch is because of patience is key. If I were to go back here, right, let's go back here. We notice that the bomb is down, right? And if I'm not mistaken, hold on, let me just see.
Nice
Yeah,
shot.
okay, so the Jet is the one who has to defuse the spike. Now what happens in lower elos a lot of the time is, let's say we skip back to right here, right? They're left in a 1v1. They notice that the Jet could be on the bomb. He could be defusing, right? But look here. Look at how I peek this. I do what's called a jiggle peek. Jiggle peeking is your best friend when it comes to clutches like this. You see this bullet right here? If I didn't jiggle peek, we would have lost this round. But no, I jiggle peeked, right? Jiggle peek. Once I jiggle, I do another shot and then I back up. Why? Because patience. Patience is key. I back up because I know that the Jet is feeling the pressure now. He can't defuse because I can keep jiggle peeking and get him. So now he has to push me. And then boom, I just micro adjust and get him. Again, very easy clutch, very simple, but I wanted to go over the aspect of patience in this one. Nice little one tap at the end there. Let's go ahead and close that. And let's jump right into the second one. Nice little 1v3. This one is going to be a little bit of a deeper breakdown. So let's see this real quick. Okay, so I get satchel. I'm just going to let it play first and then I'll break it down for you guys. Okay. Alright. 1v2 now. I don't know what they're saying. It's a different language, but probably some form of glaze, I'm assuming. No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's the second craziest
Okay,
thing you've done this
cool.
game.
Cool. So we'll just pause it there. Let's talk about how I won this 1v3 clutch. Because if you guys see at the start, I'm in showers. It's a 1v3. I have to get from point A to point B and I have to defuse a spike. So how am I able to do this so casually, just winning every single gunfight, making it look easy? Is it just genetics? Is it just being different at the game? Is it just being able to one-tap everyone? No. It's thousands of hours of practice and being good. That's all it is. And actually being calm, because I have that mentality that I was talking about earlier. But let's just jump right into what happens here. So notice this satchel. It's very important. Pay attention to this satchel, okay? So the Raze satchels me immediately, right? And pay attention to my crosshair placement here. I know that a Raze has two satchels. He satchels me. It's kind of obvious he's going to satchel me again. Very likely. And by the way, I need to clarify. The only reason it's obvious is because notice how he satchels me. I peek to see if he's going to peek. And instead of peeking, he's satcheling. I shoot the satchel. Satchel's gone. Cool. And I'm immediately counter-strafing back. So I strafe out. I shoot the satchel, I strafe back undercover, and then I'm peeking out right away again. Why am I peeking out so fast? Because he just threw his satchel. What does that mean? It's going to take him a second to get his gun out. So I'm peeking out again. Now, while I'm peeking out, I just get freaking unfortunate timing, and I have to worry about two players at once on my screen. So how do I do this? Which fight do I take? Well, let's see. We unpause it. Boom. I'm taking the Reyna fight. But notice how I did what I talked about earlier, using the wall to my advantage to isolate this fight. Even though there was 2 players on my screen, I was immediately able to deduce which one I should focus on, because this player is the player closer to the wall. This one is the faster and easier one to isolate. So I isolate this fight and I win. Perfect, right? I got lucky here because, again, I was in the middle of my movement, and it's harder for people to hit you when you're in the middle of your movement anyways. The Reyna didn't hit his first shot. I was able to isolate him, take him out, and then I come here and I'm shooting and the reason I'm pre-firing here is because I'm expecting the race to peak, right? So that's why I'm pre-firing, and I'm tucking as well, right? Trying to dodge his bullets, and I'm keep pre-firing, and then I see him leave, right? So now I know he's out of shower. Bomb goes down. Cool. So now bomb's down, 1 versus 2. How can I win this? Well, you know what's funny is a lot of people don't realize this, but in ranked, people will literally give you the freest of rounds regardless of the elo you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in high elo or low elo. In ranked, people will throw, people will play to their ego, and that's where you can succeed. So here's how we do it. So I come here, he tries to smoke me off, right? He doesn't want me to peek out, but I actually use this bad one-way smoke that he was probably trying to do as cover to peek out. So once the smoke fades, I'm over here looking at nothing, right? So I'm just pre-firing, I'm shooting at walls just to try to draw someone out. This is a very common tactic, and it does work sometimes, because what happens is the opponent's perspective, they suddenly have info on where you are and what you're doing, right? And then they start feeling this urge to peek, and they feel like, you know, I can peek and I can win the fight here, right? So that's why I'm shooting, and then boom, one of them peeks. Perfect. Now it's funny because they did kind of coordinate this, right? He's peeking and this guy's also peeking, but the problem here is it's ranked, so they didn't coordinate it well enough, because this guy doesn't have his gun out, this guy does, right? I take this guy out, and then suddenly this guy's jump spotting now. So he doesn't have his gun out, he's jump spotting. Well, good for me, I have my ult now, so it's pretty easy. I take the 1v1. Now, how do I win this 1v1? It's actually a little bit skillful, believe it or not. I know 50-50 ISO ults are typically 50-50, but check this out. So I knife out and I move to the very right, and I do this a lot because it's actually it's kind of hard to explain what it looks like from the enemy's perspective, but a lot of times they're not going to be looking at you. So notice this, right? Look at that. They're typically going to be looking left. It happens almost every single time, and then you kind of have like a free kill. Boom. And then I just win the round there. So that is a nice little 1v3 and some glaze after. Cool. So I'm the Jet here, right? This Jet peeks out. I actually remember this game. This was like my first game back after like a break for some time, and I just get this 1v3 clutch. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now this guy's yapping in my ears. I'm just gonna mute it for a second so you guys can actually see the clutch, and let's see.
Jet dash and I'm using none of it. NT buddy.
Alright, interesting reactions out of these guys. But anyways, let's jump right into the actual clip. Let me mute the clip real quick. So let's take a look. 1v3 situation. How do I win this? I'm not gonna lie, this one was a bit lucky, and a couple of these clutches are a bit lucky, and I'll explain why during the clutch when we're breaking it down. But let's take a look at this one in detail. So I'm trying here. All I know right at this point is that Jet is heaven. Okay, so I get the Jet, take the fight, get the Jet, win the fight, and then all of a sudden I'm getting peeked by Chamber. I shoot some shots and I immediately dash because I already popped my dash as I got the Jet. Now if you're playing Jet on any map and you have your dash, it's always good to pop it during your first engagement, because what's going to happen is other players will typically peek off of your first engagement so you can dash away. I went ahead, dashed away, and I isolated this fight. Again, another masterclass of isolation, if you may call it, because again, I knew he was there. I isolated, used this wall here to my advantage, and all of a sudden I'm only fighting this guy, right? And I don't stop my movement. That's how I was able to kill this guy. A lot of people in lower elos, when they dash, they just stop right as the dash ends. So for example, what happens is, and I'll show you guys this in another clutch too. See, I dash, but I don't stop moving. I keep moving to the right until my crosshair is aligned with the sky, and then boom, I get this guy, and now I'm left in a 1v1. I know that the Chamber is where he is, so now I just have to properly crosshair adjust this, or crosshair placement this, and boom, get him right there. Perfect. And that is a nice little 1v3 clutch on Jet on whatever that map is. So 1v3, I'm left in a 1v3 in this clutch with a judge. How do I possibly win this round? Well, let's take a look.
Player standing.
Okay, so I have a judge. Keep in mind I have a judge. Alright, and I just ulted to get this brim. This play.
One enemy remaining. Fire in the hole!
Let's break this down, because this is better than you guys might think. Let me break this down real quick for you guys. Okay, hold on.
One enemy remaining.
Good. Okay, so let's break this down, because this is actually harder than it looks. I might have made it look too easy in this.
Last player standing.
So first off, this brim, let's be honest, I used my movement on him. He missed his right clicks, whatever. Got him, right? And at this point, I'm getting shot from behind. Even though I wanted to grab the brim's gun, I didn't, because I'm getting shot from behind. And I try to isolate this by jiggle picking, and I'm just running full at him. Okay, at this point, I understand the weapon I have, and I understand the best way to use this weapon is to just get as close as possible, as fast as possible. That's what I do with this right now, and then boom. Right, and now it's suddenly a 1v1. I notice the Raze has ult, so what do I do here? Watch this very carefully.
Enemy
Okay, this is
remaining.
important. I peek out to make him weak with the judge, and I immediately run away. Why did I do this? Well, number one, there's two reasons why. Okay, number one,
Remain.
I'm stemmed. Okay, I wouldn't have done this if I wasn't stemmed, because you can easily get one tapped at this angle, right? But because I'm stemmed, I'm overhealed, meaning my movement is much faster than it would be normally. I'm able to quickly peek out and just make him weak, and then I'm immediately leaving to grab this gun. But watch this, he ults as expected, but look at the movement here. This is very important. Watch my movement. I pull out my gun. Most players in lower elo, what they'll do is they'll grab this gun and they might just try to kill him right here, right? They might just be like, oh my goodness, I have to hit every bullet right now, I have to one tap him right now. But look at what I do. I tuck in for half a second. Okay, for just half a second, I'm tucking in, and that's all I need, because look what happens when I peek back out. Look at where he's looking. There, right? He's looking right there, right? Now, legend knows, no one knows if you even saw me tuck in, but tucking in was an important factor into winning this. I tuck in because it's going to immediately change his crosshair placement based off of the fact that he's almost, let me see, he's turning. Yup, he was turning, so he did likely see me tuck in. And then I peek out wide with my overheal before he can get me. Just the little stuff can win you guys clutches. It really does come down to how deep you're thinking about the clutch. And now let's just get into the very final last clutch.
Yeah, you took my jet.
Oh yeah,
No
this guy's
charges left.
yapping because I selected.
Stay down.
He can
South
take
go
it
B,
again.
South go B,
He
South
wasn't
go
happy
B.
about that, but
Two drop, we're going B.
he no longer cared after this.
One enemy
Oh,
remaining.
hold up.
Let's go B, go B.
All
No,
right.
no,
just gonna
clip to hit a clip. We're going on TikTok, guys. Say something. Hurry up. I have smokes.
That's fine.
Both of you are one.
They are freaking out a little bit. Now, I'm not gonna lie, guys.
Oh, drop,
I
drop,
saved
drop,
this
you drop,
clutch
you drop,
for
you drop.
last because yes, it's a 1v5, which is the most technical one out of all these. But
Ooh.
little ace. But this one is actually a little bit lucky, and I'll explain why. So let's break down this clutch because we can learn a lot from this clutch, believe it or not.
Watching?
So 1v5
Okay.
situation. Okay, actually it's a 2v5, but my gecko is just, with all due respect, a little bit of an AI in this. So we're just gonna ignore that. We're just gonna pretend it's a 1v5. And I'm isolating this Astra because I have a good timing here. Okay,
You took my
I isolate this Astra, and let me see if we can put it all the way back. Look at the minimap, guys. Look at the minimap. So you guys see how this KO got this clove? Well, I knew based off the minimap that the KO was generally in this area of sands. Okay, so generally in that
watching?
area, I was aware that the KO was gonna be
Okay.
there. I walk up. I'm clearing very carefully because I'm behind this Astra. I have a timing.
Yeah,
I
you
see
took my
this
jet.
Astra and I get him. Now here
No charge.
is what's called a committed peak versus a non-committed peak. Watch this peak on the KO here.
Just left.
Look at that. I'm actually peeking, expecting the KO to be there. This is called a committed peek. It's very important because what happens, guys, is a lot of times people will peek the same angle I just peeked, knowing that the KO could possibly be there, but they won't truly peek it with the intention of fighting the KO. right? The reason I peeked this better and actually won this gunfight is because I truly expected him to be there, and I was able to react fast enough. A lot of players lose clutches because they do lazy peeks based off of their intuition. So for example, they might know that the KO could be here holding them, but because they're just iffy about it and they're not really thinking about it that deep, they might lazy peek this angle, and all of a sudden their clutch potential just ends right there, right? They're no longer going to be winning the round, they just lost the round, right? But me, I'm peeking every angle with the intention of taking a fight because I'm left in this clutch and my gecko's so far away being an AI.
Stay down.
So I get this guy, teammates are
Go B,
shooting,
south.
whatever, right?
Go B, south.
And now here's the interesting part. How do I peek this area? I know that there's likely going to be some drop because of, I mean, I can't show the earlier part of the round, but just based
B.
off of the enemy positionings. And I try to isolate this fight as well. Now, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't really expecting him to be here, okay? So I did get a little bit lucky on this because he missed his shot.
Drop.
And I was able to immediately just snap to his head. Now, although it is a little bit lucky that he missed his shot here, it's important to note something, and that's how wide I actually swing this, and that is actually why he missed his shot, right? If this was an angle that I isolated by itself, expecting him to be there, I likely would have maybe lost this fight. Not 100% sure, but it's likely because look how close he was holding. Right, I was able to swing far wide, and then I was able to immediately microdist to him. I see the jet holding me, ready to fire, so I immediately dash, but I don't stop my movement. This is important. I dash this way, right? And the jet, okay, this happens a lot more in higher elos, okay, is players will use something called movement aim. I've covered this in a previous video, so if you guys want to check that out, you can. But movement aim essentially means that they're going to use their movement more than just using their mouse to aim. So what's going to happen here is you'll see the jet is actually full on readjusting himself so that he can take this fight on me better. But what he doesn't realize is I don't stop moving. I also keep moving. And because of that, he only makes me 1 HP. Again, a little bit lucky that he didn't insta-kill me there because he didn't have a Vandal, I don't think. But he did, in fact, make me 1 HP. And I was able to insta-tap his head, so that worked out in my favor. And now it's suddenly a 2v1, but in reality, because again, my gecko is just a AI player.
Clip to hit a clip.
Now here is where things get really lucky. Okay,
TikTok guys, say
you
something.
guys
Hurry
saw
up.
in the clip, Cypher was also drop, right? Cypher was also drop, and I'm not looking at drop here. Look, I'm not looking. I'm still not looking at drop. But look at the smoke that my teammate dropped. If my teammate did not drop this smoke, I would have been cooked. Because you see what happened is watch this carefully. I'm looking at drop, and then right as I come in here, I hear the Cypher drop through the smoke. So the Cypher doesn't actually see me cross to sands because luckily it was smoked off right in time. So I got lucky there, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, drop.
I should have expected him. My teammate
Drop.
you can see, he's like kind of freaking out about that. And I immediately know where he is, so I'm trying to isolate this fight. And I peek it a little bit differently. I missed some shots, but then I keep peeking. The reason why I kept peeking here even more was because I'm 1 HP and because he just threw his cage. Another thing to keep in mind, guys, is anytime you notice an opponent using their utility, just know that there's a little tiny bit of a delay before their gun comes back out. So you can use that to your advantage to peek. And I get the instant 1-tap and the ace. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you win your clutch situations time and time again in masterclass fashion. I don't know, I just like this clip because this guy's freaking radiant like top 10 or something, and bro was glazing me. Let's go.
Nice shot.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. Relax. I'm just kidding. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys learned something new from this video, and I hope that you guys can take home some homework to work on. And if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. And if you guys did watch this far, make sure to join the Discord. I'm actually locked out of my own Discord at the moment, but once I hit 100 people, I believe, that join my Discord, I can essentially get access to my Discord via transferring the ownership. So please join the Discord below if you guys are interested in getting your own coaching or just interested in keeping up with the community, joining the community, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching, and take care.